So if Blair Thompson does play, what do you expect from him? Because it'll be will have been a while since he last laced on the boots in Anger.
Yeah, been a while, and obviously Liam coming into our squad helps us cover a fair few positions as well. But he's an experienced player. He has played with a couple of our guys before, Agar, Rob Louis, and Connie at various stages of his career. You know, he's an experienced guy, and you can just see in and around the training part that he's pretty comfortable in knowing his way around the field. It's just a situation, James, too. I think clearly we weren't too interested in adding to our squad at the time when we come back from COVID, but Wardy doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. James Donaldson is down for 6 weeks. Alex Mellor's down for 6 weeks, and then we've a number of young forwards in there too. So we're just very, very mindful that we don't end up playing with a pack full of 20-year-olds at some point, and just to have that experience coming up to a point in the season too where I think we all know, looking at the fixture list, they're going to start coming thick and fast. We understand there's games that we've earmarked where we know we can give some of our younger end a chance. Sammy Walters is a guy that is getting close to it, but at the same time we felt Bodine, he can play a little bit of middle, he can play obviously on both edges. We felt, given the circumstances, the short-term nature of it, his own circumstances too, and what it would cost to us, then padding our squad out a little bit with such experience at short notice, what a wise decision, knowing that we'd got an awful lot of games coming up thick and fast. Even I'm certainly not a coach that hide behind welfare issues, but there potentially is some times coming up in this season where we are going to put our players well under the pump. So having the ability to take blokes out and rest blokes and not play them under too much strain and injury, because as we've seen already in both competitions, both here and abroad, the susceptibility to injuries is probably a little bit more increased at this moment in time.
Could you just give us the specifics regarding Alex Mellor's injury and absence? Because he played on as long as he could, didn't he?
Yeah, deep bone bruising. So his knee internally, his knee is all intact. No real problems there. But yeah, just deep bone bruising, which apparently, as they're telling me, I've not experienced it myself, is quite a nasty injury. He's feeling easier by the day, but at the same time, to let that settle down and the ramifications of coming back too early from that, could be a difficult one. So he'll need his 5 or 6 week rest. Anything other than that will be a bonus for us.
Just the inevitable question, really, this week: your reaction to the events with Hull and Salford, and whether you think there could and should be anything done following this to try and prevent it happening again.
Well, I don't know what's happened. Obviously, I've seen the headlines and I understand. I understand how we work in here, and I know our staff are absolutely religious about how we operate within the COVID environment. We're very, very careful, and if anybody remotely contravenes any of the rules and protocols in place, they're all over us and jumping down us. We're taking steps as a coaching staff in terms of how we administer meetings, how we even talk to the guys on the field, what happens post-training. We are very, very careful, and we've looked at things outside of the club. Is there any possibility that we could grab lunch together and stuff like that, where we take the guys for recovery? And we've just ruled it out, James, because as much as at times it does compromise the way you prepare, 100% it does, but we just think that is, that's why it's compromised, because of outbreaks and instances like this. So I know how careful we are, and I've heard some of the theories about how people having a crack at Hull and Hull coming out and saying they've got a theory of how it happened. I'm not sure we'd ever know, would we, how something like this could get into your joint, other than we just urge the utmost caution, and if there's any more rules and regulations put around it, we'll adhere to it. It's important we keep the competition running, and we're as careful as we possibly can. And I think, myself included, when you get out there in the real world, No, I've been to restaurants and been to the pub for a beer. Still mindful of sticking to everything that is going to help you avoid such situations. So a difficult one for the game, really difficult one, and one that hopefully is being contained immediately how it needs to be contained. You really feel for Salford, don't you? You really feel for the impact that it's had on their club. I think they've passed all the initial COVID tests, but nonetheless, half the team or more has been stood down and not allowed to fulfil. It's going to impact Salford in a real difficult way. And, you do feel for them. But on how it's got into Hull and their reaction to it, I'm not too sure, James. But it's a tricky one because we've all got children, haven't we? And they're out and about, and who knows? I think sport in general, from what I can gather, has done quite well, hasn't it, in not having too many positive tests and instances. Certainly in the codes of rugby, anyway.
And just finally from me, about Wigan, really, what do you expect from them this week? And what did you make of the Rob Burrow tribute that they're going to have on their shirts this week as well?
Yeah, I'll come back to that question. I think first and foremost, James, it's what we're going to make of ourselves. I think that's probably an important. You've been very kind and not asked me any questions about last week yet, so I'll approach that one. And I just think, I think since I've had the reins, James, really early in my tenure, really, we decided we were going to team that we were going to build ourselves on effort. And probably the first time it's 12 months of rugby, but probably 18 months in the job with the COVID and all that. It's the first time I've ever had to stand in front of them and question our effort. Last week, it's not a defeat that we've swept under the carpet and put it away, that we were playing a good side and we had a bad day. We need to understand why that happened. And we've looked at every aspect of how we prepared for the week, how we prepared over the last 4 week, attitude and application from players, individuals, where they're at. Did we get, is there anything that we left unturned, or, anything in terms of loading, done too much, not done enough? So we've had a good look at that performance. And one factor, we're playing a really good team, but another factor is that even at times when we've not quite got it right, James, and we've lost games, I think it's been hard to question our effort over a long period of time. So that was a difficult one for us to try and get to the bottom of. So sort of rolling into this week, we've had a look at Wigan, but we want to re-establish, we want to re-establish what we think have been some pretty good standards that we've set for ourselves. As always, you've got to keep a balance. While it was a painful and difficult scoreline, we went from a team probably a week ago or 2 weeks ago, unbeaten after a period of time, that think we can win the comp. It's important after a poor defeat that, one, we show a reaction, but two, we don't lose that belief and start thinking that we're a team that can't win a game. Such is the wide variety of reaction from all around to performances like that. So it's important that we remind ourselves that when we do stick the required effort in, we can be a pretty good team. So I think that's what it's all about for us, mate, this week, is making sure that we get back to those fundamentals that we build ourselves on, character-wise and effort-wise. We know we're going to a good team. I think the top of the competition at the moment. Defensively, I'm really impressed with them. Hold the line really disciplined in the line, and I think they're a difficult team to breach on the try line. And within that, you start talking about some of the quality and talent. I'm a big admirer of Jackson Hastings. I think any conversation about best players in the comp, he's part of it. Bevan French is, a really exciting and tricky, skilled player. Zach Hardaker's in really good form. And I think there's some real unsung heroes in the pack. Sam Powell, Willie Isa, Liam Farrell, and some really tough, good young kids up front. So I think they've set off the season really well. I thought they were pretty dominant for the bulk of the game last week, and we know it's going to be a tough challenge. You know, thought this for a while, James. Any team that finishes above Wigan in the competition is usually thereabouts when the whips are cracking at the end of the season. So, yeah, we know the challenge in front of us, but at the same time, we think we've got an opportunity to go out there and make amends for what were a really poor performance last week, and we're going to build ourselves on our own effort and fundamentals this week.
The Burrow tribute.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'm talking too long. I forgot then what we were running about. I think it's a class act. I think Chris Radlinski and the Wigan club deserve a lot of praise. I know when we went there for Liam Farrell's testimonial at the start of the year, they had a tribute to Rob on the warm-up T-shirts there, and I just think it's magnificent what they're doing. And it's at times like this, not that any of us have forgotten, but it's just another great reminder of the status Rob has within the game, and also the class that exists within our sport at times when things get tough.
I think you touched on last week, and it's about a response. How important is it a response to the fans as well? Because you've built a lot of trust back up with them with the performances and the effort, even when you've lost some games over during your tenure. Is it important that you get back to prove to them that it's not it's not back to reality now? It's more this is where we are. We are the team that we've shown.
Yeah, when we talked about that this week, Matt, about the sort of manner of our performance, how we looked at our effort, and just felt that our effort was questionable. Absolutely questionable. I'll roll back to round one. We got well beat by Hull on the night, but I didn't think his effort was poor. I thought we got it wrong. I thought we got it badly wrong as a team and how we delivered. But I didn't think his effort was poor. I could see enough effort and enough people trying in there that even if the effort were individual, it's the collective effort that's, as we all know, is important in our sport. But one thing we did talk about were the players, were that trust, that after a couple of really difficult years for the club, in a lot of aspects of how it was operating, really, we feel we'd made a lot of headway with that. Trust in each other, trust that we got within the club from our hierarchy, but as you mentioned there, most importantly, trust from our fans. And we understand that when we perform like that and we are questioning, we're questioning why. We're not going to brush it under the carpet. We're questioning why has this happened? Again, always pay tribute to the opposition we were playing that were really good. Don't want to at any point look and think we were playing a team that, in my opinion, at this moment in time, are playing a different level and standard of football to any other team in the comp. But we want to be up there challenging that sort of football. Mm-hmm. So again, why has this happened? But the trust element of the questions that would come our way after a performance like that, it's important for us that if that trust has been questioned, then we've emptied a bit out of the trust bucket, if you like, that we very quickly put that back in, and we get opportunity to do that this weekend. And as I say, it's balance. It's balance, mate. And keeping balance within the team. We had a team that, coming back off COVID, training went great. We got the result in the way we did against Huddersfield. I think we're dealing with a team that I'm really pleased that they think they can go on and really challenge for this comp. Now, because we played in the manner we did and lost in the manner we did, I don't want them to think they can't win another game too. Yeah. We've got to understand what makes it work for us, and I think we do. But again, that'll be proven this weekend, mate. And we've looked at every aspect of it. COVID's made it a lot more challenging for getting your team ready to play every week, and we obviously saw a team last week in St Helens that were, in a far better way ready to play than what we were. So that's something that we had to obviously have a really good long hard look at.
Just going back to the COVID thing, what do you think about how the RFL have handled the situation with the change of fixtures? They've managed to get a weekend's round in. Are you satisfied with what we've done? I know it doesn't really affect Rhinos, but in general?
I'm not sure satisfied is the word, Pete. I just think we understand. We understand that to keep us on the field, that given situations like this, we may all have to be adaptable. And if we're the club that's told you're playing, you know, on a Monday we think we're playing Wigan, then on a Wednesday it comes we're playing someone else, we've got to get on with it. We've got to get on with it and all keep us on field. Are we going to start delving into, well, they've benefited from that and we've not benefited from this? No, not really, because, you know, we're playing on neutral grounds. Sometimes that's going to benefit you, sometimes it's not. The situation that we're in, it's just important we keep playing, mate. So I think any issues around that falls back into what I've talked about previously, that it's going to be a different style of comp that you've got to win this year. You're going to have to use your squad in a different way, and you are going to come up again challenges that wouldn't normally be here in the run of a normal season. So we just look at it like that, Pete. You know, how the Rugby League have handled it, they've handled it in a way that they've got to handle it because we have broadcast partners. And obviously it creates issues with a fixture list further down. So I'm not sure, Pete, that they could handle it in a way that everybody would be totally satisfied with their outcome. As I said, I think if I felt for anybody this week, it would be Salford, who have obviously had the camp, you know, half the camp stood down and are not going to play for a couple of weeks through absolutely no fault of their own.
Do you think that maybe there should be tighter sort of rules on what players can do away from clubs? Sort of like a mini lockdown, saying to them you can't go to restaurants or coffee shops or whatever, or is that not practical?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, mate, because I think under the current restrictions, I think basically we've been going all right, haven't we? You know, we've been COVID tested for 6 weeks on the trot now, 6 weeks on the trot, 5-6 weeks. And we've not had any issues. You know, we've been very mindful of keeping to remind the blokes what they do and what they don't do out here. And I think I can only speak for our club, is that we've bought into it. You know, we've absolutely bought into it. But how would you know, Pete? You know, how would you know where this has been picked up from? I'm just, you know, until we get, if it is possible to get any facts around it, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure we'd ever get to the bottom of it. But, you know, if that's what it takes to keep us on the field and any more instances come about, maybe it's something that they do need to consider. But I think overall, you know, the feedback and the comeback from our tests has been pretty positive.